Hey guys, it's Leah with Take a Leap, and I'm here with
Ian.
Caroline.
Alex.
Ian. Do you care about the environment?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I do.
How do you take care of the environment?
I think everyone can do their own little things.
Try to keep carbon emissions down, I guess. Try to walk if I can, not drive as much.
I try to thrift my clothes instead of buy lots of them, just because I know that's fast fashion is a big issue and it's impacting lots of people.
Turning the lights off when I leave a room.
I don't litter.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you pick up trash, or you just actively don't litter?
Oh, yeah, for sure. If I go on a walk and I see any trash, I always pick it up.
What a guy.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Hello guys, welcome back to Take a Leap. Today, I'm so excited to be talking to Lauren Kim.
Thank you so much, Liam, for having me.
Lauren Kim is the National Organizer and Spokesperson for the Young Evangelicals for Climate Action. Do you say the abbreviation YECA?
Yes, I say YECA. That's very controversial because a lot of people like YECA. I like
Really?
YECA. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I like YECA too. That's what I've been saying, but I wanted to check. Okay. She's been involved with YECA since 2019, serving as a project manager, college fellow, and steering committee member. She's a graduate from the University of Virginia with a degree in global security and justice. Lauren believes deeply in the mission of environmental stewardship as practice of obedience, kindness, and radical love toward Jesus and his creation.
I'm really excited to be here on Take a Leap.
Good, I'm so glad. So I want to talk about the last line of your bio. It says that you believe deeply in the mission of environmental stewardship and how everything is God's creation. Can you talk a little bit about how you think your faith has impacted what you do for the environment?
I grew up in a Christian household, and I came to the Lord maybe in high school, and maybe even earlier. He's always been pursuing my heart. Since then, I've had a really strong relationship with him, and I've allowed him to change my heart and grow in greater compassion all throughout high school and even college too. I would say my relationship with the Lord is central, everything. It is the reason why I do what I do. He is like lending the wind in my sails. And faith is very tied to the work that we do at YECA. That's what sets us apart from other environmental organizations, which are also doing great work. But I think we bring a unique angle and we insert the Lord here in a way that other organizations don't.
That's so awesome. I'm wondering if you have a specific story you can share, either about the environment or not, just a story that really strengthened your faith that you could share with us.
My younger sister grew up with asthma, and it wasn't asthma because of genetics. It was because we grew up on an island and the land next to us was always on fire. It was forest fires, and it was intentionally done and irresponsibly burned to clear land for farming.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a catch-22 because you want to have land for farming, but you also need to know how to burn forests responsibly.
Right.
In that case, the forest wasn't being burned in a way that was responsible for human health and the population living nearby. So watching my sister struggle with asthma was really hard for me. And it got me really thinking about how can I help people in their health? And growing up, I always thought I was going to be a doctor. I prayed constantly to the Lord that he would lead me to a way to protect human health. And maybe if it couldn't be through my hands and physically fixing people's bodies, that I may help them in a wider sense. When I went to college, I took a class called God and Nature. I needed to have an extra credit for school. And I was like, why not take this class? It's in the religion department. American religions sounds fun. And the class was looking at nature through different American faith traditions. And I thought that would be really amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And we touched on creation care for one of the topics. And I remember learning about that just was a light bulb moment for me. Because I was like, oh my gosh, the environment is something that I love. I love nature. And it is so intrinsically tied to the human condition in a way that I felt my heart break for before. And I think when the Lord breaks your heart, he wants you to do something there. So I found myself researching creation care in my free time. And after many hours of digging on the internet, I found this old documentary with Tri Robinson. I thought he was like the coolest pastor. He was doing a lot of great work out in Idaho. So I emailed him. I found his email address on the internet and I told him, hey, like I would love to talk to you. Like I'm working on this school project. Like I want to run a paper about you. I would love to jump on a call. And he replied back and he was like, just come to my ranch in Idaho.
Oh my gosh.
So I booked a ticket. I remember like freaking out, being so excited
Wow.
and booking a ticket all the way out to Idaho. And I was out there like north of Boise having the time of my life. Well, on the very last day, um, I was climbing the butte, which is for the listeners who don't know what a butte is, it is a really big hill, a very small mountain. It's a mid-sized bump. I thought like, wow, like this was such an amazing time here. And like I had so much fun learning about creation care, but I don't want this to be just a paper that I write and I never think about this type of work ever again. Um, so I was thinking and thinking about like, what can I do? Like, what can I do with this passion? What can I do with this energy? And when I got to the top of this butte, I sat underneath this tree and I just prayed. I was like, God, I've been thinking and ruminating over like how I can serve you. And I really don't know. Um, but I just want to put my heart down in this posture of surrender and just ask you to just lead my life in a direction that's always serving you. And if it's through creation care, like lead me to it and let me do that well. And I think that prayer just changed my life because when I came back, like that's how I got plugged in to YECA. I started speaking at different churches. I started bringing creation care objectives to my own home church, to my college, and life really took off from there. And it wasn't anything that I planned. And I'm such a planner. I'm such a type A person.
Same.
So it was driving me crazy that I didn't really know where I was going. But my creation care journey is really a story of blind faith and the Lord teaching me that like you can't control everything in your life. Just let me lead and just be a vessel for me to work through you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that story.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, talk about taking a leap. Like, you got on a plane to Idaho out of nowhere,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Oh, I just had no idea who he was. Like I didn't know if I'd be safe. I was like, why not? We should
Yeah.
just go.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I love that, like, the random classes, the electives we take can
Mhm.
shape our entire lives.
It's
Like, I
not.
took a British literature class because I was like, "I don't know, I need to fill this credit."
Mhm.
And now I'm a creative writing minor and I write all the time, and I'm like, "This is so random," but the Lord always knows better than we do. He knows
Mhm.
where to put us. It's
Exactly.
amazing.
Yeah. Life begins in like the weird places. And when you don't expect things, like that's when things move in your life. It's funny.
It sounds like this totally shifted your entire life course. I'm wondering, how did working on this farm in Idaho influence your faith or how you saw Christianity?
Pastor Tri Robinson, he told me something that was really eye-opening to me. It was the most profound thing. As Christians, and if you really dissect like what belongs to the Lord, the earth is the Lord's. This whole all of creation belongs to him. And if you think about it, we're guests in his domain. And if we're guests in a host house, you wouldn't trash the house. You would do your best to take care of it, um, and to make sure everything's neat and to keep things tidy and in order to be respectful to your host. So when you think about earth and creation and your environment, it's the same thing. It belongs to the Lord. He created it. It belongs to him. Um, and as stewards, as people that we're supposed to live here on this earth, we're supposed to take care of it the best that we can in a way that's honoring to him.
Yeah, I love that so much. I think the earth is God's creation and it totally is our job to take care of it and maintain it. And so,
Mhm.
in being a host on earth, we're also a host kind of in our own bodies. And so, I don't drink alcohol or coffee because I think it's important to take care of my physical body that God
Mhm.
has given me too. And I think it's the similar idea.
Exactly. Like all the gifts that he's given us on this earth, whether it be our bodies or our homes or our lands, like we're called to just do the best that we can to be hopeful towards it.
Yeah, exactly. So you included Micah 6:8 in your bio on the YECA website. Could you talk to us about what this scripture means to you?
Mhm. So Micah 6:8 is talking about what the Lord requires of us. And he calls us to act justly, one, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. This is such an important verse when it comes to the work that we do at YECA. And I tell all of my YECA fellows, YECA steering committee members about the 6:8. It ties into the work of um, climate change, creation care, because environmental injustice does disproportionately affect the poor, the disenfranchised. And in order to take care of people, especially children, human health, we have to take care of the environment. And it's no different than any other ministry branch, such as like serving in a kitchen. Or serving your time at a school because everyone is affected by environmental degradation. And when you work towards stopping pollution or work towards more awareness, you are acting justly in a way to protect the most vulnerable among us.
Yeah, I love that. We did an interview a while ago with someone who said that the Lord's work is done more out in the community than in the mosque. That I think it's so true that God, yes, He wants us to go to church or to the mosque, but He also wants us to go serve the other people that He loves and wants to take care of.
Mhm. Exactly. Yeah. Because it's important to have your theology and faith on lock. But after you're filled with the Spirit, like you want to put your faith into action and you want to show God's heart and plan to the world to other people. And what better way than to serve them?
Yeah, absolutely. Faith is action. So you talked a little bit about being in Idaho and working on a farm. That's so fun. I'm
Hmm.
from Wisconsin, so I know farmland very well.
Hmm.
Your bio on the YECA website says you're passionate for the environment and animals, especially cows and horses, which I love.
Uh-huh.
When did this love and passion transition into activism?
Yeah. So I grew up in Massachusetts. So I would be hiking all the time. I'd be out on the trail like every weekend. I was also a big swimmer, so I just go out into ponds and lakes. I think it was in college where I was able to be around more animals and volunteering with them that I had a deeper connection with what it means to steward something kindly and compassionately.
Mm.
And then when I moved to Texas, I had the opportunity to be more involved with animal shelters, ride horses, and there are cows everywhere in Texas. So there was no shortage of cows. I love cows, especially the brown ones.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one, I was spending time with animals that really grew my heart, but it's also talking to the people who were cattle ranchers, people who were farmers, and just seeing their love for their animals in the way that they took care of their farm so well that really changed my heart and made me realize that like when we take care of animals, it's kind of like a mirror of like the Lord taking care of us. And it says in scripture many times that we are like sheep to him. So I just thought it was a really beautiful analogy. And that kind of passion transitioned into activism. Um, I think after multiple internships at different farms. So I would spend every summer in college working on farms across mostly the West Coast, Oregon, Idaho, and um, working with animals, working with the land, planting. So I remember working on a farm out in Western Oregon. And do you know the saying, you can only be as clean as your neighbor?
Yeah, for sure.
So the land surrounding that farm um, was like filled with all these harmful pesticides. And no matter what this one farm did in isolation, um, you can't have healthy crop unless the whole land is restored. So it really made me think about like, what are the health impacts of environmental degradation? And even if you're doing your best, like how can we get the word out on a larger scale and educate people about what it means to responsibly take care of crops? And also, more importantly, like human health too, because at the end of the day, it's the humans who consume these crops and animals. And if we're trashing land, trashing the rivers, it's going to make our way into our bodies. There was a study talking about how microplastics were found in fetuses, human fetuses.
Oh, wow. That's so sad.
Yeah, it's really sad. So that got me more involved in protecting water as well, because there's microplastics in water when people dump trash into the ocean. And all those things really got me thinking about how I could best advocate and protect people.
Wow, I love that answer so much. I love that you're doing this good work, not only for the animals, but also for the people. I think that's so amazing.
At the end of the day, like I do love animals, but it really is about people and extending God's mercy to them. And that can be like protecting their physical health, and also just protecting like their land as well. Um,
Yeah, and I love what you said about you can only be as clean as your neighbor. And I think in terms of the gospel or Christianity, I think it can be seen as we really need to pay attention to who we're hanging out with, like our
mhm.
friends and the people that we surround ourselves with, because that's honestly who you become. And I think that's something important for us and our listeners to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've talked a lot about what you're doing in the world, and I want to know specifically, what does YECA do to make a difference?
Well, a lot. So our overarching goal is to empower young people, young Christians, to be the hands and feet of Jesus in a very public way. And we do this through our College Fellows program and also our Community Fellows program. A lot of times, when Christians enter the environmental space, it's very secular. There
Mm,
aren't it's mostly politicians or scientists, and many times these people don't know Jesus. So I see this as an opportunity to go out there and meet these people where they are and say, we have these shared values about protecting human health and protecting the environment. And at the same time, I want to let you know about my heart for Jesus and how this is a huge deal and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And they can learn a little bit about who God is, which is an amazing opportunity.
yeah, I can tell how passionate you are about this work, and I love it. I
Mhm,
also love what you said about meeting people who are also involved in doing environmental work. There's a concept in interfaith work called the third thing. And instead
mhm,
of like kind of arguing about your religion, you focus on a third thing. So not either of your religions.
mhm,
And you can bond over that and then say, well, I do this work because I believe that it's God's creation and it's our job to take care of it. And you can kind of use
mhm.
that as an outlet to share your faith and not feel like you're making the other person feel bad, right? You're just bonding over this similar interests and activism that you have. I feel like you're a great example of that.
Thank you so much, Leah. Yeah.
Yeah, you're
I
welcome.
think like interfaith work is important, and um, it's important to talk about your shared values. And I think in this day and age, people are way too focused on what divides us rather than like shared values, and like the good things that we're doing. We need more optimism.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, we do. It's funny we're talking about optimism. This next question is so pessimistic, but what are some of the obstacles that prevent young people from being part of an organization like YECA? What have you seen?
Mm. Wow. I would say awareness is a big part. Um, there's not enough awareness about creation care
Hmm,
and environmental stewardship from a Christian perspective.
right.
And um, I remember when I was first in the creation care space, and I wasn't yet connected to YECA, I was struggling a lot with how can I find other Christians who are passionate about environmentalism, but coming from a faith standpoint, they're doing this because of God and they want to keep the Lord at the center of the work that they do.
Hmm,
And I remember reaching out to honestly 100 different organizations, after Googling and like doing a lot of internet stalking. And I think that part of the reason is that churches and faith leaders are not drawing that connection often enough. That the environment and our world is linked to caring for others, and it should be a legitimate form of a ministry and outreach plan. I think a lot of times churches, and I think it's great that churches focus a lot on people who are homeless, people who are suffering from domestic abuse, and all these soup kitchen outreach efforts. And it's wonderful. But I feel like environmental practices always takes a second bench to that, and they don't think about that, or they don't take it as seriously as other health concerns. I would love for other churches to draw that connection and figure out a way, whether it be big or small. It could be something tiny like recycling church bulletins, but teaching congregants, teaching young Christians, older Christians, any Christian, that when you steward the environment well, you are loving your neighbor.
Yeah, I love that.
Mhm.
I'm wondering for our listeners who are thinking, yeah, I believe in a higher power and I want to make a change in this world. Do you have a good place for them to start or like a good first step that you can tell our listeners?
I would say first, have your faith unlock. I say that your faith is like the firm foundation on which everything in your life stands. So really spend some time in prayer, discernment, and figure out like what it is that you want to do, and like how you can best use your talents to serve. And then after having that as your foundation, um, get plugged in to organizations. It could be a faith organization to a person for a person's specific religion, or a group that you feel called to because you share in their missional statements. I believe that the work that we do can be great done in isolation, but when you are in a community and you're with other people, your work goes so much further and you feel so inspired. If you'd like to get involved, we're always looking for young people who are excited about the environment, and have great ideas that they want to implement on their campuses. We can be found at YECAaction.org. You can check us out on our website there, and we offer different resources on our page, from signing up to vote to worship resources.
Yeah, I love that you made it so individual for people's talents and telling them to pray first and see what they can do and what specifically their talents could be used for.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much, Leah, for having me. This was really fun.
Hopefully, you had fun listening to this episode of Take a Leap, and it's inspired you to give up on women and invest in tomatoes. Be sure to follow us on social platforms and leave a review. We have an especially funny TikTok that coincides with this episode, so check that out. Take a Leap is, of course, a production of BYU Radio. This episode was theorized, produced, hosted, and edited by me, Leah King. No big deal. Our production team also includes Josh Orton, James Sturdivant, and Aaliyah Ebert. Maybe next week they'll help me with the episode. We'll see you then. If you listened this far, I love you. Bye-bye.